A perpetrator, her enablers, and carefully chosen lackeys. Tolerating such reprisals promotes a culture of dishonesty and corruption, where toadies will do anything to get ahead, cheating, lying, bullying, then grasping for awards to conceal their misdeeds. Meanwhile, honest workers are too worried to give from their hearts and too scared to speak the truth. To date, neither Health Director Barbara Garcia nor Health Commission President Sonia Mallara have issued any statement affirming the rights of whistleblowers. Your silence indicates that you support incompetence and misconduct. Fortunately, you still have time to reassure the public. We're here today because the settlement has been agreed upon, but what really happened is that Laguna Honda, the Department of Public Health, tried to smear and bury two whistleblowers, and they failed. And we wanted everyone to know that you can stand up and overcome this kind of organizational wrongdoing.
And instead of dealing with the problem, why did they try to get rid of you and Dr. and Maria? I mean, why not deal with the problem?
Dealing with the problem would be the simple solution, but I think there's a problem of incompetence and also an ingrained culture of wrongdoing. So the wrongdoing was actually advancing an agenda, advancing the interests of the people who were doing it. It wasn't an error or a mistake or a blunder. But basically a competent administrator could handle dissidents, critics, and even whistleblowers.
And what has happened to the people that retaliated against you at the Laguna Honda Hospital?
Well, they're still there, and the only one who's left is former health director Dr. Mitchell Katz.
So in other words, they retaliated against you, laid you off, and Rivero, but the people who did this action are still at the hospital.
Yes, correct. So the wrongdoers continue within the bosom of the city, and the whistleblowers lose their careers.
And what about Mayor Ed Lee? He was chief administrative officer. Was he aware of this, what was going on at Laguna Honda Hospital?
I'm sure he was aware because it gained a lot of publicity. But of course, we haven't heard anything from Mayor Lee or from Health Director Barbara Garcia or Health Commission President Sonia Mallara, and we're waiting for them to make a statement affirming the rights of whistleblowers.
And since you've been had this experience, you've discovered that other people are being bullied who are whistleblowers, for public workers, for saying that there are problems in public agencies. Is that a surprise to you?
It's a surprise, but the more it happens, the less surprising it becomes, and the more disappointing it becomes. So this is something that we have to rally around and oppose, because it really destroys institutions. When truth tellers are driven out, all that's left is the toadies and the lackeys. And so to save our institutions, we have to protect the truth tellers and follow the law that supposedly protects whistleblowers.
And this money, this settlement that you have, financial settlement, why did they make a settlement to you?
Well, they made the settlement because if this had gone to trial, the cost of the city would have been much, much more, enormous, and plus the enhanced negative publicity. However, if we'd gone to trial, all we would have gotten is money. This way, we get public apology, acknowledgement, they have to take training in whistleblower rights. This directly affects the perpetrators, whereas if it was just money, that just affects the taxpayers.
And what kind of changes in the law and the legislation should happen in San Francisco and California to protect whistleblowers?
I'm not sure The laws are there. The laws are just being violated. So what we have to do is out the violators, expose them, and publicize the wrongdoing so that it becomes costly and humiliating to break the law. Right now, they do it with impunity.
Now, I mean, you're a medical doctor. Dr. Rivero is a medical doctor. Were you shocked that they would go after not just a regular blue-collar worker, staff person, but a professional who was competent and was doing the job, taking care of the patients at Laguna Honda?
We were shocked because we carefully detailed our concerns, wrote them up. It was very professionally done.
What were your concerns?
Misappropriations from the patient gift fund at Laguna Honda, and also health department contracts that were tainted by conflicts of interest. So we reported these through the proper channels and within the institution, and we were let go. So it was surprising that we followed the rules, we did what we were supposed to do, and still we got retaliated. So now what we tell people is just go right to the media and go right to the community, because if you go through the city channels, like the Whistleblower program or the Ethics Commission, they do nothing, and they sit by while your career gets destroyed and you get buried.
And what happened at the Ethics Commission? What did they tell you about why they couldn't take action?
Oh, they said they were looking into it, and they referred it all over the place, and it took them over 2 years. Over 2 years, and by then we had been driven out. And they can't do anything. Basically, they told us to get a lawyer, and that actually did help.
Okay, so are you hopeful now that things are going to change, at least in this case?
I'm hopeful that it's because it's becoming more costly for wrongdoers to retaliate against whistleblowers. The public is rising up against it. The media is following it more closely. Community groups are involved. So that's where I'm hopeful.
Doctora Maria Rivero, I'm the other whistleblower, and I just wanted to say that this settlement doesn't go far enough. We really feel strongly that if we were the only people that lost our jobs, then that means that the Department of Public Health condones retaliation against whistleblowers, and they should get rid of the retaliators and reinstate the whistleblowers. Thank you.
So you think that these people have not been held accountable?
They totally have not been held accountable, even with this lawsuit, because they're spending the public's money, not their money, and none of them have been touched in terms of demotions or other actions such as firing.
What does that say about accountability in the city and county of San Francisco?
Well, one would think that that means that there isn't any, especially when it comes to whistleblower retaliation and bullying, such as I experienced.
And what did they do to you?
The thing that was the most scary for me was that the deputy city attorney, who's at Laguna Honda, threatened to charge me with workplace harassment against 2 managers, and that's a firing offense. So therefore, I felt that I had to leave, but I also had job responsibilities that were taken away from me, so that I felt that I had been demoted. It was very awful.
So you were trying to do your job as a professional, taking care of the patients and protecting the public, really, and this is the response of the manager and the city attorney. Yeah,
we were advocating for our patients. That's all we were trying to do,
And the city attorney's office did this? Well, who was it that did that?
Adrian Tong, the deputy city attorney at Laguna Honda, sent me emails about it.
And what did he say?
Just that some of my actions, because I was asking questions about things related to credentialing activities where non-physicians were involved in them, but were managers. She said that could be interpreted as workplace harassment. Yeah.
Because you wanted to follow the law.
Yeah.
See what was happening with the law.
Yeah, exactly. And make sure that physician credentialing and peer review was done correctly and according to the standards that our profession has. Yeah.
You know, the issue of protection of public services, of civil service, of the public interest, are they really a threat with this behavior?
Yeah, all over the country, actually. Workers are no match for these managers with this hubris and the power abuse and dementia that they have,
So they're out of control?
Totally.
And were you shocked to see it's happening in other places?
Yeah, I'm especially shocked about Tim Larson and his colleague who were laid off after blowing the whistle on these dirty contracts in the Housing Authority, and Henry Alvarez. Yeah.
I mean, how could that be that they would lay the whistleblowers off and keep Alvarez on the payroll? It's like,
I have no idea, and it's the same thing that happened to us, so I'm not surprised, but I don't agree with it. And I think the city needs to do something to help reinstate whistleblowers and prevent managers who retaliate from continuing on the city payroll.
I'm Dr. Maria Rivero. Dr. Kerr and I blew the whistle on misappropriations from the Laguna Honda patient gift fund by Mivic Hirose and her colleagues at Laguna Honda, and tainted Department of Public Health contracts initiated by Dr. Mitchell Katz. Then, after a 20-year career at Laguna Honda, I was bullied and forced out. Dr. Kerr was terminated. The long overdue praise from Mivic Hirose is part of this settlement. Mivic Hirose, Laguna Honda's CEO, has admitted that she made the decision to terminate Dr. Kerr's employment. What is the message that you send when a CEO who retaliated against a whistleblower is still in office? What is the message? The message is that you condone whistleblower retaliation and violation of laws that protect whistleblowers. It shows that you'll accept executives that pilfer public funds donated to the poorest of the poor in violation of a sacred trust. It shows that you condone spending public funds on rigged contracts awarded to cronies. It shows that you will collude with driving ethical and committed workers out of Laguna Honda and replacing them with sycophants who rise to the top because they won't dare discuss problems. It shows that you support a culture of dishonesty and wrongdoing at Laguna Honda Hospital. Mivic Hirose said during one of her depositions that she stood by her decision to terminate Dr. Kerr, who was a dedicated 20-year employee, the attending physician of the renowned Laguna Honda Hospice, and a whistleblower. Mivic Hirose obviously doesn't get it. Please consider this. Thank you.
Which everyone at Laguna Honda suffered. Doctors, patients, demoralized staff, and well-intentioned but deceived donors. The system failed to respond appropriately and added insult to injury by removing the complainant. Dr. Derek Kerr is an esteemed physician who set an international model for hospice care by masterminding innovative programming and treating patients with dignity. Dr. Maria Rivero was revered by patients for the home-like, caring setting she created and nourished. It was stunning to see the system's lackadaisical response to the uncovering of misappropriation of funds and other DPH irregularities, and the subsequent retaliation against these dedicated physicians. They should have been lauded for their due diligence, not removed. When they reported findings to the Whistleblowers program, the system set them up and betrayed them. In doing so, the system also betrayed our trust. No city employee should have to go to court to seek justice and be vindicated. San Franciscans expect honesty, transparency, and professionalism. Instead, we witnessed a see no evil, speak no evil system that protected the status quo over integrity. That is simply unacceptable.
Patrick Monk, RN, 40-year resident, Noe Valley. I'm basically here this afternoon just to pay my respect to Dr. Kerr. I've been involved in hospice for 20 years, the last 15 as an RN hospice case manager, and I was one of the first volunteers out at Laguna Honda when Derek started the program out there, and both I and hundreds of my colleagues owe so much to him for what he's taught us in terms of hospice care over the years, and also the thousands of folks whose lives and deaths have been touched by the work that he's done.
So why was he retaliated against?
Whistleblower. I mean, that was at a time when there was so much stuff going on with the DPH. Dr. Katz was the head, and Gavin Newsom was our mayor at that time. Dr. Katz mysteriously disappeared shortly after Derek was fired, and also after he'd given like false and misleading testimony to the Board of Supervisors related to Lenar's work out at Bayview Hunters Point. But anyway, it was retaliation.
Move at tonight's San Francisco Health Commission meeting. To settle a wrongful termination lawsuit, the head of Laguna Honda had to read the wording on a plaque to be installed at the hospital honoring a whistleblower.
The plaque will say, in recognition of Derek Kerr, MD, for his contributions to Laguna Honda in its hospice and palliative care program, 1989 to 2010.
It was forced out of her. It doesn't come from her heart. But the fact that she had to do it is the vindication that they didn't get away with smearing and trying to bury me.
In an I-Team investigation 3 years ago, Dr. Kerr blew the whistle on the abuse of the gift fund meant for patients, many of whom have no family or money. The fund is supposed to pay for creature comforts, a cold soda from the machine, a favorite food, a small TV set, or bus trips off hospital grounds. But we confirmed administrators raided the patient gift fund for air travel and fancy meals for themselves, and even custom laser-etched Laguna Honda pedometers for staff.
It was totally shocking to us. We don't understand how they could do it. We don't understand why it took them so long to fix it.
After our report, the controller ordered Laguna Honda to return $350,000 to the patient gift fund. And in the settlement, the city agreed to pay Dr. Kerr $750,000 to provide 1 hour of training to Laguna Honda's executive committee on whistleblowing and First Amendment rights of city employees, to install that plaque at the hospital honoring the doctor for his work.
It's funny, but it's an apology without the word apology.
Yeah, you don't often get that kind of satisfaction in litigation. The fact that they're willing to stand up here in public and say that they were at fault is a pretty extraordinary thing, in my experience, extremely rare.
The former supervisor for the district where Laguna Honda is located blasted the Health Commission for lack of oversight.
You should be ashamed of yourselves, and this should never happen again. And I can tell you this, if any of you were ever involved in any type of a cover-up again, I will lead a charge in this city to have you held responsible.
Several members of the public, including Kerr's partner, former Laguna Honda Dr. Maria Rivero, called on the commission to remove hospital administrator Mivic Hirose.
What is the message that you send when a CEO who retaliated against a whistleblower is still in office? What is the message?
I caught up to the hospital administrator outside the hearing room.
Mivic, you heard the calls for you to be removed. How do you answer those?
I'm sorry, Mr. Noyes, but I'm not the spokesperson.
No comment. Dr. Kerr now tells me he does not plan on returning to medicine. He has a new calling, helping other whistleblowers speak out against government waste and corruption. Dan?
That was some meeting tonight.
It really was.
Interesting ending. All right, thank you, Dan.
Good morning. Good afternoon. Professor Emeritus Jeannie Kaiser-Jones of UCSF School of Nursing was unable to come today, but sent a statement, and I'm here in her place.
Your name, ma'am?
Ashley Byer.
Okay.
Professor Kaiser-Jones was a founding director of the Hartford Center of Geriatric Nursing Excellence. She conducted a one-year research project at Laguna Honda Hospice while Dr. Kerr and his team were there, and published a paper entitled A Model Hospice, Care, Community, and Compassion in the journal Geriatric Nursing. Here are Professor Kaiser-Jones's public comments. I remember how Dr. Kerr was so involved in every aspect of the hospice. He would come in on the weekends to plant flowers in the garden. He was involving in choosing the color of the paint in the main lounge.
I'm Carmen, and I represent the Save Public Health, which in the past has litigated health issues in the city and county of San Francisco. And we certainly believe it is fitting that you have memorialized Dr. Kerr as you are doing today. And we thank you for doing that. At the same time, when you memorialize Dr. Kerr, you also memorialize the fact that the theft from the patient's fund has never been punished. And therefore, in other countries, when things like this occur, prime ministers resign. And we think it would be entirely fitting for the CEO, who was on the watch when this occurred, and took no steps to punish or bring the perpetrators of the theft to the criminal courts should resign.